And I said, I think I know the way to make this happen.
It's really exciting to talk to you guys after seeing your project. And Matt, thanks so much for posting that on the MakerPipe community. It was really exciting to see and heartwarming. My name is Dave, and I'm one of the owners and founder of MakerPipe. My wife and we've started MakerPipe about 4 years ago, and with a Kickstarter. Have you guys heard of Kickstarter before?
Yeah.
And that was a dream to do, and it took us 2 tries to be able to get it kicked off, but the second try it went really well, so we were off and running. And since then we've just been working on growing MakerPipe, finding people like you that have a use for our product, and then telling their story. So I'm really excited to hear your guys' story. Not only about how you use MakerPipe, but just in general too. It sounds like you've got a really interesting class, and I definitely want to hear more about it.
Well, thank you for having us.
Yeah.
It's fun to talk about it. It's a project that we definitely want to make sure as many people can learn how to build their own if they want, if they have a need. And so this is great.
Well, that's good. Can you guys introduce yourselves maybe really quick?
Sure, I'll start. My name is Matt Ziegler. I am the Makerspace coordinator at the Bullis School in Potomac, Maryland. And I taught these guys in a class called Making for Social Good, which is a trimester class that we do every year.
I'm Benjamin. I'm in 11th grade, and I'm a student in Mr. Ziegler's class.
My name is Evan, and I'm a freshman, and I'm a student in Mr. Ziegler's class.
Well, great. Nice to meet you guys. So can you guys tell me a little bit about the class and how it's structured? It's got an awesome name. The name is really great.
Yeah, I can give you a little bit of the background, and then I'm sure they can tell you the experience from the student side of it. But I started at Bullis about 4 years ago. They built a new, huge, multi-million-dollar STEM building, and one of the biggest pieces is a makerspace and fab lab. And so we have everything from super low-tech craft projects that go on here to we have full-size ShopBot CNC router behind me, laser cutting, 3D printing, all that kind of stuff. And so I teach a couple classes that just get kids used to using those tools and coming up with creative designs and ideas. But I proposed this course to essentially try to figure out designs that could be made and built to help people, just needing access to sort of a 3D printer or a makerspace where they could use the laser cutter for a weekend to create an object that meets a need in the community. And so this is my 3rd year teaching the class, and this was really by far I think the most successful year, partly because the projects that we built focused on an actual member of our community. And so having a specific person that we were designing for, I think made it much easier to get really deep into the process of trying to figure out what would work and what wouldn't work for them.
Yeah, I saw in the presentation the Kings, is that right, that you worked with on this one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and she's a teacher at the school, and he has had brain surgery and has had some balance issues, so has to spend a lot of his time in a wheelchair. And they just had their first child, so like a week and a half ago. So very fresh, and I'm actually headed over there tomorrow now that they've sort of got their life settled a little bit to install both of the projects that we made, one with the MakerPipe, and then we made another one that involves some 3D printing in a similar area. But yeah, and then guys, you can talk about it from the student perspective. What was it like for you?
So I just thought it was really cool being in a class without like a whole really like rigorous structure, I guess, because we're kind of allowed to do whatever we want. We were just given the whole bit lab. You know, we were given metal, which is, I think it's kind of crazy to work with metal. Like usually it's just simple things like wood or something like that. And we're just allowed to like let our minds wander and, you know, try and fail and use different things and different ideas.
Yeah, I
Working
agree
with
you,
metal
man.
does seem like a superpower sometimes, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was pretty cool because there was no exact criteria that we had to follow. It was just design a project that's able to hold the stroller or hold the baby carriage so that he's able to stroll around with the baby attached to to the wheelchair. And that was about it. That was all the whole project, just attach it and make it maneuverable.
Yeah, you guys definitely communicated the problem well. I got a chance to both see the post that that Matt did on the website, but then also a presentation too that you guys came up with. And I thought the way that you outlined the problem and defined the problem was really great, and probably key to success of solving it in the end or getting close.
Yeah, we had a little bit of help because sort of before Miss King approached me, I had come across a design challenge that was being run this year through an organization called Print Labs and sponsored by Autodesk, which is, you know, into every, you know, 3D design thing out there. And the idea was to design an object for someone with mobility and particularly hand issues. And so when Miss King reached out to me, I was like, well, what's a bigger issue with your hands than not being able to push something because you have to have your hands on the wheels of the wheelchair the entire time. So it all seemed to work out really well. So we used, they had some suggested design thinking activities. And so we used some of that to help sort of narrow down our ideas and figure out what was really critical to the design. And the kids, you know, I think one of the most interesting of those activities was they had to think through what would going for a walk with a stroller be like, which, you know, I don't know how many of them have really young siblings, but they did a really good job of just thinking, you know, you come up to a curb and how do you get over the curb? Or maybe you have to, in the time of COVID, you know, you're walking, you have to go over into the grass because you got to stay 6 feet away from the person coming the other direction. So all of these sort of things that they just thought through, and that helped us do an interview with the Kings and then identify sort of the three main criteria that were necessary in whatever project they came up with, which were, it had to be safe, it had to be easy to attach and detach, and it had to be maneuverable. And so I think, you know, they stuck to those three things through the whole project, and I think the final result has all three of those in there.
Yeah, and I'm gonna just present really quick, if that's okay, and show some visuals of the solution that you guys came up with. And there's a quick glance. There's the team with the project. That's awesome. And then what really absolutely got me was the video that you posted of, is it Jeremy King?
Yep.
And of him actually testing it out. Was this, tell me what this was a video of.
So this was one of our early, I guess, middle prototypes. It's not you can see there's actually a curved piece of metal that we had, a curved piece of conduit that we were using. And we eventually scrapped that as an idea simply because, you know, it just added one extra maybe tool that you had to get, or one extra harder part in the process. And so we went for the later version where it's more of a rectangular shape that the thing fits down into. But you know, we had it to that level. We had tested it around. We actually had a wheelchair from our school nurse that we've been all of us have ridden around in quite a lot over the last couple of months, and we needed to make sure that it would actually fit on his wheelchair, because his wheelchair is a completely different size and design. And so I was able to go over there and do the attachments and make sure that the parts particularly on the footrest where things are connected were pretty standard. And it turned out that they were, and his wheelchair is also much narrower. So we just needed to sort of test that everything could be adjusted to fit a different size wheelchair. And it worked out. So that was great. We then just got to come back and the guys just sort of like, all right, let's get it more and more to the final result.
That seems really smart. You guys have mentioned that a couple times, that you used the wheelchair and rode around in it and tried to put yourself in Jeremy's position as much as you can, or help or understand, you know, the challenges that the Kings would face. And I think that's really a smart thing to do to solve the problem, or better educate yourself.
Evan, I know you rode around quite a bit in it. What did you think about that process?
Yeah, I think it was really crazy how hard it is to get over the bumps. Like the bumps between doorways. And then with the wheelchair attached to the stroller or attached to the car seat, it was getting out of the stroller was different, because if you were to get out and you were to put in the car seat without you in the chair, it would fall over. So you really had to think about how much space you were going to make it and how far forward it was going to be. And then same with getting over the bump, you had to go backwards rather than forwards so that you were able to get over it. And it really shows how hard it is to really be in a wheelchair.
Right. Yeah, and the safety concerns that you guys had to consider in doing this, because it's not only the wheelchair falling over, you got precious cargo in there.
Yeah, I think one of the things that we stress in the sort of talking about, this is a great solution for you know, flat, smooth areas, like in your own house, going to the store, in a mall, at a playground, on a paved path. But if you're going to be on bumpy terrain, this isn't the best option. In fact, like I said, we ended up doing 2 projects, and the other project more addresses that issue. But this one, I think what Jeremy said in the video was just how sort of compact and maneuverable it was. He could envision, actually, while he's at home, you know, I want to go to the kitchen and make lunch. Well, I can take our son with us. I can have him right there, and you know, if he's fussy or whatever, I can make that happen in our house. So I think that that's a really cool idea, that he's got these 2 different solutions that kind of cross all the areas that he might want to have this ability to take his son around without having to worry about you know, pushing the wheelchair.
Right. Yeah, that's just amazing. I mean, what more of a fundamental thing than caring for your child, right, when they're in a seat, and having and such an intimate place that you put it, right? I mean, it's right there in front of them. So it's just it seems like such a pleasure for him, and a real problem solved, to have that kind of interaction and be able to care for his child. That's really great. It definitely is heartwarming, for sure. You know, because how else would he be able to do it, right? You can imagine the problem. It's I mean, just getting around in a wheelchair, but then also your hands are occupied with the precious cargo. That's tough.
Yeah. Benjamin, you were kind of involved a lot in some of the early designs and some of those conversations about how to actually do it. Do you have any thoughts about, like, because we asked them about that, like facing or not facing, and some of the interviews that we did with them. Benjamin, you had some some good insight into some of that stuff, I feel like.
Oh, the interviews.
Yeah.
Yeah. So mainly the main questions I asked were about like different types of terrain and different types of obstacles that they'd have to go over. So a big part of building this contraption was trying to figure out a good balance between its center of balance, because you can't have the baby too far forward. Otherwise, if he ever tried to get out, it would just tip over. And but also having it low enough so that he could see over the baby, but not having it too low so that it restricts his space and it gets it into his leg space, but also having it close enough so that he can still interact with the baby.
Yeah, that height issue was definitely a challenge, right? So we didn't actually, I don't feel like we thought about how it could be adjustable, but you do have to look over the top of the infant car seat in order to see what's in front of you. And it just, the maker pipe was actually perfect for that, because you can just loosen it a little bit, slide things around. As long as the basic frame is the right shape, you can actually make a whole lot of different adjustments to it for different size wheelchairs and different size people. So that wasn't part of the reason why we got the maker pipe for this project, but it definitely helped out. It was a big bonus.
Well, that's
But yeah,
good.
to add on to that, it was also really helpful kind of with adjusting it a little bit, because there's different sizes of maker pipe, and we were able to make it detachable. Because of that, we could put the larger pipe over the smaller pipe so we could slide on and off, and that could probably also be used, yeah, just like that. It could probably also be used, you could drill holes in it or something to make it adjustable by putting like pins in the holes.
Yeah, we
I
looked
thought
at
that
like
was
tent poles
extremely
and
clever.
things like that. Yeah, that one worked out. It can be a little bit wobbly because the diameter of that 1/2-inch conduit is, just a bit smaller than the inner diameter of the 3/4 inch. So we ended up adding some straps, some like cable ties, so that you can actually sort of pull it a little bit tighter in towards the wheelchair, so it adds some stability. I think there might be other solutions out there as well to sort of lock it in place. I actually was thinking about, putting it in a vise and squeezing it in one direction so that it would, squeeze out in the other direction, so that maybe it would fit a little bit better. We haven't tested that yet. That's version 4, I guess. But we felt like it's working really well. And as long as I don't know what kind of, maybe in an earthquake it might pop up and out, but it seems really unlikely that the pipe is going to go up at 3 inches to jump out of the sleeve.
Right. I thought that was very clever and a great solution, a good hack that I haven't seen too much. So well done there.
Well, we knew we needed to be able to, he was not going to be, attaching and detaching the maker pipe every time he wanted to go on a stroll. So that was not going to be easy connection and disconnection. So we knew we had to come up with a solution for that one. And luckily that was pretty much our first idea, and it worked pretty well.
What was the time frame? How long did it take you guys to go from the problem to coming up with your final revision?
I think we spent about a week or two just brainstorming ideas as a group. Then we split up into individual groups, and we spent the next month or so just going through different iterations of the design and tweaking things and seeing what worked and what didn't.
Oh, that's great. Yeah. Well, you had a timetable. You had to be on time for the solution, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, the due date was it was amazing how it all worked out, because her due date was literally at the end of the trimester. So there were 2 very solid deadlines that had to be met.
Well, that's great. Well, I got to tell you, I think you guys did a fantastic job from where I'm sitting. It really, I'm sure the Kings must be very appreciative, and it looks like just a a very clever and smart way to solve the problem. So way to go.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. And it's also great that, you know, MakerPipe, you guys found it useful. I'm so glad that all these years later, after a Maker Faire where you originally saw it, Matt, is that right?
Yeah, I was showing some of my own stuff at Maker Faire and came across your all's booth, and one of the few moments I got to leave, and I was like, we've got to have some of this. But I've tried to sell that some projects to students, but I think the metal maybe made them a little worried, and so but these guys were totally ready for it. And so one of the early designs that they came up with, it was done in Tinkercad, and it looks almost exactly like this. And I said, you know, I think I know the way to make this happen.
That's great. I do hear that often, you know, folks that we've met at Maker Fairs, because we went to quite a few and we miss them dearly. But years later, it's a solution that they just needed a problem for, and
Yep.
the two met down the road again. So I'm so happy that you remembered us. Thank you, and I'm glad it could help you guys. If there's anything I can do for you guys in the future, don't hesitate to ask. I think what you're doing is great, and I'd be happy to support you guys in that.
Appreciate it.
Sure. Is there anything else you'd like to mention or talk about while we're on the call today?
I'm just excited to go and install it tomorrow. I think it'll be really cool to see their son in it and get moved around.
Oh, that is the culmination, right, of seeing the problem be solved. So that's really
Definitely.
cool. Well, great. Thanks again, Evan, Ben, Matt. It's been a pleasure talking with you guys. I appreciate you taking time out of your day to talk with us. And thanks for using MakerPipe and your interest there.
Thank you. Thanks for
Thank you.
having us.
All right.
Thanks.
Take care.